students were sharing the entire exam and all the answers. And at that point in time, something needed to be done. And our mission is to create an environment of zero cheating and 100% learning. Our plan is to prevent cheating so you guys as teachers can go back into teaching. And our values of privacy, integrity, and equity guide all of our services. That's our PI values. And ultimately, we want to prevent cheating and let you guys as educators go back to teaching. And now I'd like to turn the time over to our first panelist, Jen. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Jen Jadav, and I am a high school teacher in Westchester County in New York.
Tony?
Oh, hello. My name is Anthony Craig. I received my MBA from Bloomsburg University, and I have firsthand experience at the student perspective. Aside from creating a real estate organization for the school, which started my business, most of my studies have been in the future of tokenization and the complementary solutions between AI and blockchain.
Sean?
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Gray. Spent 25 years in public ed, the last 12 in the tech department as the tech coach and as the software guy. And my job was to get all the software ready for all the teachers so they could use it with their students.
And Dr. Blackwell.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Benita Blackwell. I have a doctorate degree in ed leadership. I've been in education over 18 years, and that includes public education, Department of Defense. I'm serving as a teacher and administrator, and now I am a mathematics specialist and the CEO of Imperfect STEM Academy.
All right, let's get started. So let's get started here. Let's go to the next slide here. So this is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about why it's hard to make clear and simple policy, some of the ways that AI gets in the way of students learning, the foundational ideas of our guidelines, where they come from, the concept of AI not so much as a tool, but as a person, and then, of course, how to enforce the guidelines. So the first thing I'm going to talk about now is some of the challenges that schools have been having to implement AI policies. Here we see there's rapidly evolving technology, unclear boundaries, and some difficulty in monitoring and enforcing. And I want to turn it over to Jen for a second to talk a little bit about some of the challenges at her school.
So as a high school teacher over the last couple of years, you can imagine it's been very challenging. One of the biggest challenges is just keeping up. The technology is evolving so fast and changing so fast that even as tools emerge, they're outdated as fast as they come in. Not just the tools, but the kids find a workaround, or, it's just really difficult to stay on top of all of the challenges. And it's also, it's unclear as a teacher, because again, all this is happening so quickly. What are the boundaries? Where does the helping end? And, where's AI tutoring, and where is AI doing it for them? And it's just really, it's changed the whole culture of the classroom of, I, as a teacher, am out to get you. I'm going to catch you in the act of this. And I don't want to be the AI police. And then on top of it, the school administration just, I think that they're not sure of how to handle it. And so they don't know what guidance to give us as teachers. So it's very challenging, as you can imagine.
Thank you for sharing that. And we've heard a lot of stories of similar experiences with other educators and institutions, just because of the constant evolving and all of the back and forth. So now we're going to go on to our next slide here. And we're going to talk about the idea of thinking of AI as a person. One of the challenges we've seen is a lot of people have the idea of AI as a tool, but it's not AT, artificial tool. It's AI, artificial intelligence. And I want to illustrate how that will help us have a better understanding of this. So we're going to talk about AI as a person, and we're going to name that specific person Al. And at this time, Anthony Craig, is going to play a student writing their paper with Professor Blackwell. So go ahead, Tony.
So Dr. Blackwell, I'm not sure if I'm going to have the time this weekend. So can Al write my paper for me?
Are you serious? No, Tony, Al cannot write your paper. Those are not your words.
Okay, so what about just the intro? Can Al write my intro?
Did you write the intro or did Al write the intro? I'm only grading your work, not Al's. Are you even learning anything if you allow Al to write your intro?
Okay, okay. So what about just one sentence like the thesis?
Tony, again, I'm only grading work that comes from Tony, not Al. When I get the work from Tony, I'll grade it. But right now, Al cannot write it, your friend cannot write it, and no one else can write your work.
Understandable.
So this is the line we're trying to draw and make very clear in our guidelines and for schools, is at the end of the day, it's plagiarism. The current definition I looked up from the Cambridge Dictionary of Plagiarism is the process or practice of using another person's ideas or work and pretending that is your own. The challenge here is we need to kind of make a slight tweak to that definition, as AI is not technically a person. But at the end of the day, Dr. Blackwell doesn't care if Al or AI wrote it. It's the fact that it's not her students writing. And so we prefer a variation of the definition of plagiarism similar to the act of presenting content, ideas, or work that was not independently created by oneself as one's own. Schools are free or recommended to use any variation thereof of that, but the main idea is to not limit it to just being another person, rather not the student's writing. So naturally, we know that AI is here to stay and students are going to use AI to some extent, and it's going to be almost impossible to restrict it entirely. So Tony, can you now see what AI can do with your professor?
So Dr. Blackwell, can Al like evaluate my paper and give me feedback, like grammar, content, style, ideas, things like that?
Listen, Tony, as long as Al is not writing your paper from you and it's coming from your own content, your idea that shows that you are learning, then yes, Al can help with the revision and Al can help with perfecting your ideas on your paper.
So the idea here is that pretty much all schools have policies for their writing center or the tutoring department of what they can and can't do. And that's pretty much in writing and very clear. By applying those same policies to Al, we now have something concrete that we can apply. And even teachers and professors, we know the line when you're helping one of your students of what you can and can't do when you're helping them versus doing for them. So now you can use those exact same boundaries in your school and in your classroom. Now we're going to move on back to our slide. Share. And we're going to move to our next slide. How AI can undermine learning. So the challenge here is that students want to use AI. And as teachers and educators, we've kind of accepted that it's here to stay and we can't just say no. But we do want to be aware of the risk that even if we are doing some AI assisted or assignments that allow AI to understand, there are many areas of learning that happen when writing a paper that are undermined and don't happen when AI is used. My background is in tutoring, and I understand if you give that student an inch, they're going to take a yard. So as soon as we let them use AI, we have to be very careful because we as educators want them to use AI responsibly to help them learn, but the student just wants to complete their work. So some of the areas are critical thinking. AI is going to reduce the need for that and the deep analysis because it's going to give them the answers. The student also is going to lose some subject comprehension if the student's using AI to write the paper, because now they're not as involved and they're just going to get the content and submit it without really interacting and learning it. Then there's the issue of research skills. We all heard about the case of the lawyer who submitted something to the judge with example cases, meaning ones that didn't exist. ChatGPT and other AIs sometimes will give you an example of a source, which isn't an actual source. It also doesn't do the process of checking them out or any of the other due diligence that we'd want a student to do as a part of learning. Naturally, the writing process is undermined because you're not putting your thoughts and everything together because AI is going to structure it for you. And most importantly, we're stifling creativity because the student now is going to rely on the AI to do that, as opposed to coming up with their own ideas. So those are some of the risks that are going to happen now if we allow students to use AI just to write the paper or any content for them. So now we're going to talk about our guidelines, and we have guidelines for both high school and college. They include a substantial amount of content, from the general policy to an FAQ, to example AI assignments, to the idea of a reflection paper of how to use AI and then reflect on it later, and then how to enforce them. So we're going to be sharing that with you guys after this. It's a lot of content and detail, so we're obviously not going to have time to go through all of it. But I just want to ask Dr. Blackwell, you reviewed these. What would be your thoughts on using these policies at your school or in your classroom?
I think the idea of AI as a tutor is good. I just want to make sure that as an educator, everything is clear to the students so that they do not take advantage of the use of AI. Another thing that I want to say is that it's a really good idea seeing AI use log, and it could be great to see how the students are using it when it comes to thinking and learning. So overall, the guidelines will need to be very clear on the uses of AI at my institution and any other institution, and the AI assignments so that students don't take advantage of it.
Okay. And Jen, what are your thoughts about these policies in your school?
My thoughts about using the AI guidelines at my school. I think that they're really great. It was very clear when I read over them, and there was examples, there was FAQ, there was everything that I needed to very clearly understand it, relate it to my students for them to very clearly understand it, and give everyone a clear path to follow, which is such a relief. It's such a breath of fresh air after the last couple years of, not knowing what to do.
Perfect. Okay. So how well do you think the guidelines address the concerns that we talked about earlier, in terms of AI constantly changing, students using them, AI to write their papers, some of the discussions of the fact that what's allowed and not allowed? Dr. Blackwell, your thoughts on that?
The guidelines presented is very clear. It's very clear and it's very understandable for both parties, both students and the educators. But we have to make sure that both parties are reviewing them to ensure that everyone understands it, and we uphold the guidelines to make sure that they are effective moving forward. And we need to continuously review those guidelines to make sure that they align to the institution goals and to the goals of the assignment that is given.
So now we're going to talk a little about enforcing the AI guidelines. We do have a software that helps do this. But first, I want to go over to Sean, our tech person, and talk a little bit about why we can't just use the current AI detection software. What's been going on with that, Sean?
Well, being the guy that has to find the solution, the problem with a lot of AI software right now is they just give you a percentage of how the student probably most likely cheated. Well, the problem with that is it's very subjective, and it leaves the conclusion to the teacher on whether AI was used. And this could result in a debate, an argument with the student, or hard feelings going forward with the student maintaining that they didn't cheat. With zero cheating, what I found out with the software is the actual document is shown with a replay of the student actually writing the paper. And this eliminates false positives and conjecture. It's hard to argue against real-time proof when they're looking at it right there on the screen, that they used AI or didn't use AI or some other technology instead of the student writing it themselves. Also, with the event of these AI humanizers, AI technology kind of humanizes the paper so it doesn't look like it was generated by artificial intelligence. And some of these software pieces, this ed tech software that's coming down the pike, they're fooled into thinking that it was actually written by a human. Well, with zero cheating, this is eliminated because you actually see the student writing the paper after the fact.
Perfect. Okay. Now, some of the other ideas is ChatGPT does have a conversation log. So you as the faculty or educator can see the interaction between the student and ChatGPT if you're doing any AI allowed assignments. One of the other strategies we have for schools is a multi-submission assignment, meaning have them submit the outline, the rough draft, the final draft, so you can see the stages. And then for comprehension, maybe a spontaneous oral exam and follow-up. So those are some of the options. At this point now, I'm going to turn over the sharing over to Jen, and she's going to go ahead and do a demo of the software. So Jen, you should now have host privileges to share.
Okay. Let's go. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So this is the Zero Cheating dashboard. And this was a real game changer in my classroom because I went from those vague percentages that Sean was just speaking about that I can't really take to a student, and I definitely can't take to a parent because they don't really mean anything, to this is a much better way of assessing whether or not a student did their work. So here's my class, and we have some suspicious activity. But before we look at any of those, let's take a look at Angel's paper to see what Angel did. And this is our dashboard. I'm going to play back Angel's paper and Angel's writing process. We can see here that we're expecting it to take about an hour and 15 minutes to write a paper of this length, and it took Angel an hour and 22 minutes, which is right in the right ballpark. We can speed this up, and we can see that Angel's really thinking this through. This is an iterative process. There's critical analytical thinking happening here. This student is revising, they're going through, they're editing. So this is real thinking, and that's what it looks like. Let's go back and look at one of the other papers. So if we look at Chad's paper, which has a suspiciously short editing time of 9 minutes and 32 seconds, we can see that happens so fast. Let's do it again. That green flash of where Chad just copies and pastes the entire thing in from ChatGPT and then goes through, does a few edits, takes out the asterisks that ChatGPT left behind, and finishes his paper in about 9 minutes. We can go back and take a closer look at Chad's paper. Let's see.
Go grab it from your Google Drive in the folder, yeah.
Yeah, let's see, here we go. Okay, so here's Chad's paper. And if we take a look at the version history, we can see, and this data is straight from Google, that the teacher has created the assignment that Zero Cheating, the software, then provides to the student. And the student writes their name, and 1 minute later, the entire paper is here. So they go through, they do a few brief edits, and the entire paper is done in about 10 minutes. So this is evidence that I, as a teacher, feel much more comfortable having a conversation with my student. We're not looking at a percentage that they may or may not have cheated. We are looking at concrete evidence that, hey, why don't you try this again, you know, in your own words.
Perfect. Now, some of what we're going to recognize here is that the student might straight type the paper. So we have a lot of other why we can't just use the version history is you're going to need to see that process. Now, what we're doing as a company is we are launching this completely free at an individual level, meaning teachers can use this software unlimited for life without any issues. We later on will have in our freemium model the option for an LMS integration, which we're bringing later on. So that's what our software does. Now, the main advantage is it's also going to create and offload all of the administrative work for you. So I want to share that with you. And then since we're finishing earlier, we're going to go into the actual guidelines and give you guys a peek of that. Obviously, we're going to share that with you, but I want to show you guys that as well. And then we're going to have some Q&A. So here I'm logged into Google Drive and I can hit setup class, and this will set up my first class. So we're going to call this class History 101. So what's nice about this is it's going to create all of the Google Docs for the professor. put them in a folder, and share them with the students. It's also going to give you an announcement, onboarding, everything you need, and it'll take you under 20 minutes to be actually having your first assignment and able to use the software. So you're not going to get a lot of bells and whistles and extra features that aren't necessary. You're going to get exactly what you need so you can go back to reading human papers, not spend a lot of time learning things or looking at other stuff, and have your students use AI, if at all, responsibly. So we have an academic integrity quiz set up for you. So this content will explain to the students that they cannot use any external assistants like AI making their own content for them or rely on someone else's work. This process was developed over about 6 months or so of testing with different students to see what everyone would do. And we found out we needed them to affirm so they don't claim lack of knowledge, that they will do everything in the Google document. They know if they type it anywhere else, it's a violation of the honor code. They are appeased and knowing they can still copy and paste quotes or bibliographies. And if they have issues accessing it, they will contact an admin immediately in writing. And to successfully complete the assignment, I will type and edit all my work in the Google document. So this is going to make life very, very easy for you. You will simply enter in your students' names and email addresses here. This data is entirely on the Google Drive of the educator. It is not shared at all with Zero Cheating, the company. There's no PII observed, sourced, or anything. It's fully FERPA compliant. This just streamlines the paper creation process. So it makes life very easy for you as a teacher. So our goal is to make this as simple as possible for you so that this way you can return back to teaching as opposed to spending a ton of time dealing with, whether or not someone wrote the paper. Now, the other thing I want to do is what's unique about our software is we are going to show the students how our software works. We have found that teachers do not want to catch students cheating. Teachers view students similar to how parents view their children. That child could be in the candy aisle throwing a fit, but that child is an angel because it's your child. And no one wants to have any of those challenges. So we believe in students. So we set up a way for students to know what happens. I have a very short video I'm going to share with you shortly that shows students how our software works, unlike others, to be transparent and fair, so they don't actually cheat and they just write the paper. So we're going to put that on the screen in just a second here. I'm just going to get this loaded up here.
Wouldn't it be crazy if you could create?
Let this ad play. No. And now we're going to go ahead and share that screen. Okay. So we'll skip the ad, dismiss this, and play.
CEO of Zero Cheating. I would like to share with you how our software helps create a safe environment of zero cheating and 100% learning. Our goal is to prevent cheating and ensure learning, not catch you cheating. So unlike other academic integrity software, I'm going to show you how our software works so you can relax and know you will never be falsely accused. Our software simply shows your professor how you wrote the paper. Here we can see an iterative learning process where the student is writing, editing, thinking, and repeating these steps. This is what an authentic paper looks like, whether it is written solely by a human or even with some AI assistance. Yes, we do promote AI usage, but responsibly, unlike the following examples. In this example, the student used AI to write the paper and then copied it in. This does not represent learning and is not an appropriate use of AI. Alternatively, please do not try and fool your professor by typing the paper directly in. Again, this is not how human writes an authentic paper. These two methods represent attempts to have AI do the paper for you. Instead, we suggest using AI to assist and enhance your paper, similar to a tutor. Here is one of many effective and legitimate uses of AI. First, write your own draft, then copy it into an AI program like ChatGPT, provide the program the grading rubric, and ask it for feedback and a grade. If you follow the program's advice and repeat this process a few times, you're virtually guaranteed to get an A. Additionally, you can transparently show your professor how you used AI to enhance your learning process by sharing the conversation link. Our software will never tell the professor you cheated. We simply share what happened so they can confirm you followed the academic integrity rules. One last side note. We are aware of some fancy tech ways to circumvent the software shown. Detection methods are in place. If you're smart enough to figure out a way to get around the software, you're smart enough to write the paper. So let's have a great learning experience enhanced by appropriate AI. Best of luck on your paper.
So that's how our software works and what we show the students. Let's open this up to some questions. I'm going to allow a couple of the people here, if you guys have questions, just to let us know your feedback, your thoughts, or what you think about the information provided and how this style of guidelines could help you. If anyone wants to chime in. I know I put everyone on the spot there, but if anyone has any questions, and then while we're doing that, let me see what else we have here. Okay, I guess everyone's just listening today. So that's pretty much what we have. And we're going to be sharing the guidelines policies with everyone after this. And then, of course, you feel free to reach out to us at any time. The website, of course, is zerocheating.com, and you've received our emails with our contact information. We thank you very much for attending and have yourself a wonderful day and hope everyone keeps on learning. Thanks, guys.